Hey everybody, how are you? This is Angelique. I am so happy to be here. I've got somebody really, really special with me today. We're going to hold off for a second because she deserves a very special introduction, so I will get to that. But hello, all of my courageous queens and my courageous kings. I call you that because it takes quite a bit of courage to talk about what you've been through and to speak about it and share it with others for the sake of helping others. But hello to all of you because you are courageous. Welcome to episode number 8. I cannot believe I'm at episode number 8 now, Misty. Like, I feel like it was just yesterday I started this thing. But it is my weekly domestic violence awareness podcast, and the name is Silent No More, because I'm silent no more. I'm Angelique Pierce. Again, I'm a survivor of domestic violence, but I'm also an advocate of freedom and truth. Those are so important to me. But I'm also the founder of Ladder Masters Inspirational Leadership Group, which is better known in short as Ladder Masters. And I'm only here for 3 reasons. I tell you guys every time. I speak for 3 reasons and 3 reasons only, and that is to bring awareness. Number 1, bring awareness of all kinds of things, specifically domestic violence, but also to break down facades. There are so many things that people don't understand, don't really know about, and have no real clue. So how can you move forward when you don't have the truth? And finally, to build conquerors, because inside every single one of us, no matter what we've experienced, no matter what I experience, you experience, we are all conquerors. It's in there. We just got to find it. So I speak for those 3 reasons. And Misty, I always tell people, if I'm talking about something else, tell me to shut up, okay? You got a right to tell me to shut up. All right. But today, I keep saying her name. I have a special guest with me today. This is licensed therapist, counselor, life coach, sister girl, Misty Brown Pearson. Thank you so much for being here with me today, because you're going to talk me through some things, talk us all through some things today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you are welcome. And before I go any further, I do want to say a quick prayer. I think it's important to make sure that you, that I, that all of us are in the right headspace and heart space as we go into these conversations, because they can get intense. So if you'll just bow your head real quick, Father, we just come before you thanking you for yet again more time together, more time to actually share your word through these discussions, guys. So I just thank you. I thank you for all the women, all the men who have suffered through domestic violence, but have survived and have come out on the other side, and not just DV, but any kind of trauma. Today, we're going to be talking about trauma in general and things that put us on a journey because we need to heal from them. So God, I thank you for open minds, open hearts, and listening ears that are listening intently, Father. We thank you. And to anyone out there that's listening who is a survivor or a current victim of domestic violence, I do pray for your strength to get out and your courage to stay out. So God, I thank you for all these things. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen. Whew, amen. All right. So let me make my acknowledgement. This podcast is powered by the UB Podcast Network. UB stands for Unique Blessings. And that is part of Unique Blessings nonprofit, which is started and founded by none other than Queen Unique, which is my girl, Chantel Evans. I'm not sure if she's out there listening, but I hope she is. All right. So let's get into it, because I got a lot to talk about. So I ain't going to waste too much time tonight. Tonight's episode is titled The Journey to Healing, Finding Beauty in Brokenness. Ooh. Shake it off. Shake it off, right? So I want to say thank you to every one of you that's joining, or who will hear the recording and see the recording later. Thank you for joining Misty and I for this conversation. And I want to be clear, because that's exactly what it's going to be. It is a conversation that you are tuning into, and I hope you make comments about. I already see some comments. Who's talking to us already? Who's saying what? Oh, look at that. I just mentioned her name, Chantel Evans. Hello, Queens. Hi, Chantel. Who else is in here? And then Jacob. Okay, yes. Okay, so these are my people that are on this podcast network. So I'm just going to say a few things, because this is meant to be a real conversation with you, Misty, and I need it as much as anybody else that's listening. And I want it to be real, open, transparent, all those words, whether it's all synonyms, but also vulnerable, because I still got some stuff. Can I just say that? Like, I still got some stuff that I deal with because I went through a lot. And I'm sure a lot of people think I got it all together, but I don't. Let's first of all, none of us got it all together. Can we?
Exactly.
Not a soul listening, born yesterday, today, or whenever, got it all together. None of us do. And a lot of times it's because we went through trauma. I went through trauma. It was real to me. it was real to my family and to a lot of people who love me. And I had to fight, literally fight, to get my life back and my mind back. And that was no joke. So I'm thankful for you. And I'm thankful for so many people who helped me on my journey to healing. And I'm still in it. But one of those people is one of Misty's colleagues. She's not on the call today, but I got to shout her out. And she is Miss Kirsten Davis. She was my therapist through this process, and she was phenomenal to me. And honestly, she helped me. And Misty, I know you've done this for others. She helped me to see what I couldn't see because it was just my mind was so clouded. My eyes, my vision wasn't clear. I couldn't see beyond what happened to me. Right? That's what happens to a lot of us. But she also reminded me of who I was. So who I was, but also who I am. And she also reminded me of who God says I am. So that was key. So Kirsten, big shout out to you, beautiful. Can't wait till you see this recording. You got two of you girls together. This is awesome. So, but Misty, thank you. Thank you to you because this is your life's work. You have made it your life's work to help others heal. And that to me is so selfless and it's a beautiful thing. And so you literally pour your heart into other people's lives so that they can be a better version of themselves. And that means a lot to me. So from me to you, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So now let me do that thing we all do, with the bio. Let me formally introduce Misty. All right, so real quick, y'all. Misty has been working in the behavior and mental health field since 2003. She attended Georgia Southern University, where she received a BS in sociology and a minor in criminal justice, and continued on to receive a master's in education community counseling. So we're talking to somebody that knows some stuff. She is currently licensed as a clinical mental health counselor in North Carolina and a licensed professional counselor in South Carolina. And Misty, you've been fully licensed since 2012. Am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. All right. So big picture, Misty works very well with people who are struggling with things like depression, low self-esteem, and the everyday stuff we call stress. We all deal with all kinds of things. She provides services, and this is my favorite part of this whole section right is my favorite part of your bio. She provides services from a person-centered perspective, as she believes each individual is unique and should have a therapeutic approach that meets his or her individual needs, my favorite part, based on a strengths perspective. Meaning, we don't look at everything you're not. Let's take inventory of all your strengths and let's work from there. God, I wish everybody did that. I wish they did. So she looks at your needs based on your strengths from a strengths perspective. I think that's so essential. So Misty, thank you. Say a few words. I've been talking for a while, but you say a few words before we get into all the topics.
Well, thank you for having me today. I look forward to our conversation. You've said enough about me, so
let's get it cracking. All right, one quick thing. Oh, so let me put this up because this is so Chantel. Speak light. This is so her. She is full of light. So we will speak light today. So real quick disclaimer. This is important to say. I'm going to say this and then we're going to move right past it, but it's important to say. This content is not intended. I know you're on here listening, like I'm listening, honestly, too. But this content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice. It's not. Or diagnosis or treatment. We want you to always seek the advice. You must seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions that you may have regarding a medical or psychological condition. So just understand we are here to provide insight, but do not think this is officially professional medical advice. All right. Done. Did I do a good job there, Misty?
Yes,
all right. All right. So here we go. Now, when people come to you or people come to people like you, they come with baggage, some kind of problem, some kind of issue, some situations that they just feel like they can't figure out. It's too much to carry and they need someone to kind of wade through the water with them and figure it out. Mm-hmm. That stuff, we say in problems, we call them problems, but a lot of times it's trauma. I know for me, it was trauma. So I feel like that word gets thrown around a lot. Like there's certain words out there that people say all the time, like toxic, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like there's like buzzwords now, toxic, but it's a real thing. But do people get it? So now let's talk about trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Do people really understand what we're talking about? So what I would like to first do with you is to define this stuff that people are carrying on their shoulders and on their backs. This stuff called trauma that they find reasons and the need to come and talk to people like you. What is this trauma stuff?
You pretty much summed it up, but to be, more transparent on what trauma is. Trauma is you get trauma or you get traumatized from a traumatizing event that causes you to be traumatized.
Yeah.
So trauma is basically a distressing, disturbing event. It could be domestic violence. It could be intimate partner violence. It could be a natural disaster. It could
Yep.
be rape. Any of those things. Neglect, the loss of a child. So it just kind of depends. Trauma is there are various forms of trauma.
Yeah.
So,
Agreed.
and it affects everyone differently as well.
Yeah. And it's amazing because from my perspective, it seems like there are people who have gone through things and they know they've been through it and they
Mm-hmm.
figured out how to cope with it. Like, let's just say joking or whatever, whatever it is, but it's coming out and seems like both conscious and unconscious ways.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, and like you said, it affects each person differently, but it's like to what extent it impacts you, how does that then play out? What's some of the kind of stuff? Like, it seems like you could be deeply distressed, but hiding it.
Yeah.
But it comes out somewhere else
It
at
comes out
work.
somewhere else. Yeah.
And that's the part. I mean, it's like, to me, I feel like it isn't just something that happens up here. I think you said it to me that your body
Your
even
body
experiences.
carries.
Tell me
Yeah.
more about that. Tell us more about that.
So often we think about just the mind and how a person's brain has been reprogrammed when they deal with trauma. But a lot of times people don't realize that your body carries that trauma. So whatever event that you experience, there's something within your body that's holding on to that trauma, and you have to
Mhm.
get a place to where you need to release it. Some people don't realize that sometimes when they have a trigger for their traumatizing event, there's something may happen to a certain part of their body. Their arm may twitch a lot. Something in their face, or they may get aches somewhere. A lot of times that's because our body holds on to trauma.
I agree. And you know what? It's interesting because after my situation, so I'm gonna throw a little DV stuff in here too, because that's my personal story, right? But
Mhm.
I remember after my situation, I lost so much weight. Like, listen, I'm from Philly. I'm a brown girl. I like my size to be a certain size. I like to be kind of thick a little bit. But I was so small. I didn't like eating was probably the last thing on my list. And when you talk
Mhm.
about your body carrying it, I didn't know. I didn't even know I was hungry. I was so worried about everything going on around me that eating was my last priority. Does that make any sense? Like it was my last priority, and I was so small. I remember going to court and being so skinny, like my slacks. I'm a slacks person. I like to wear this is a dress, but I like to wear slacks a lot because I got long legs. My pants, when I went in the courtroom, I could feel them hanging off of me. But that was a part of how I carried the stress.
Yeah.
Um,
And
you know, it, it
carry
go
it
ahead.
differently. You find some people who gain a lot of weight. So,
Oh yeah, and the opposite happens. I think
mhm,
at the end of the day, you feel there's a sometimes I felt helpless. Like I had so much in front of me in
mhm.
that I didn't even know how I was going to get through all of that and deal with all that. And I felt helpless. And it was the result of what I had been through.
Yeah.
And it just, I don't know. I mean, I guess you try to find ways to cope, but coping, I don't know if coping is heal. Is coping the same thing as healing? Sorry, that just came out of nowhere. Is coping the same thing as healing?
No, coping is not healing. Coping is just a way that you're getting through dealing with the symptoms that you're experiencing from the trauma, but it's not healing. You need to
Mm,
know how to cope in order to go through your healing process. But coping is it's just a skill that you learn to deal with that symptom that you're having from the trauma
mm,
that you experienced.
okay. So coping is almost like a bridge to healing.
Hmm.
I got it. Okay, I never quite thought about that, but I know I was coping in certain ways, and I'm a person that smiles a lot. Like I smile, like I'm a happy person. I smile a lot, and sometimes like that was a part of how I got through some of my stuff because Angelique was still smiling until
Hmm.
I got into my cubicle and I could not, you could not see me, and then I just be like, like I would hope that people wouldn't run into me because I would have to throw that smile on. And they might ask me about my ex or ask me, how's your daughter doing? How's your so-and-so doing? And I couldn't do it. But talk to me a little bit more about what's happening in the brain. Like this stuff is real. It's what's happening in someone's brain when when they've experienced trauma or because as a result of experiencing trauma.
So often what happens with the brain, it just becomes so accustomed to what's happening, it becomes normalized. What
Mm,
events that are happening and that you're going through and experiencing, it becomes normalized. It's like it's a part of who you are. You start to believe that that is now you.
mm.
So that's
And
when,
then,
and a lot of times when you're dealing with trauma, the person they're so broken down to they feel like they're nothing and they feel like this is truly who they are. So their brain has just kind of started to believe that is thinking that. So you have to start reprogramming that once you start going through your healing process.
yeah, because I can think of times when it was like I was out of it, but I was still having the same responses like I was still in it.
Yeah.
And that's the part. Like even right now, there's only I tell my mom this, I don't know how else to say it, but I felt like in that situation, let's just call me a rubber band for a second. I was a rubber band and I felt like I got overstretched. And like there's like so now there's like I can't go but so far. Like certain things I know for a fact I will not deal with a situation or cannot necessarily stay in it that long because it's too much. I got to pull out of it and I know myself. Like I
Mm-hmm.
remember denying that or not being ready to admit that I had anxiety. Like anxiety, that sounds like I can't, I'm not, and I'm a pretty much in control person. Like I'm a pretty in control person. so, so to say that I wasn't in control of my emotional state, my highs and my lows, they were all over the place. I
Mm-hmm.
know I'm talking to somebody. I know I'm not by myself in this, especially when it comes to DV. Why? Because they make sure you're on highs and lows all the time.
All the
You
time.
can't figure out what's going on, what's not going on, how they gonna be when they come home today, how they gonna be when they come home tomorrow. How should I feel? Am I walking on eggshells? Today is eggshells. Tonight is, oh my gosh. And I just remember being out of it and still feeling like I was in it. I think the word is hyper vigilant.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Is that a term you ever talk about?
That's it. Mm-hmm.
Hypervigilance, like you're just almost aware of
Always.
everything. You're
Mm-hmm.
always watching.
Always. Yeah.
Do a lot of your clients talk about that? And I'm not saying you got to tell their specific story, but that is that a common
Yeah.
result of trauma?
That's a common symptom from trauma.
Oh my gosh. Oh gosh. I think about it and I think about where I am today and I'm thankful I'm past some of these places, but I remember them very, very well. And especially obviously in regard to domestic violence, because I said like you that cycle. You're in
Yeah.
a major cycle and you get out of it, but you sometimes feel like you're still in it.
You feel
So
like you're still in it. You're always expecting it. Because like I said, now your brain has it's become a part of you and you feel like this is your life, this is who you are. And
yeah, so
that's kind of what makes it hard too when you get out of this situation and people are like wondering like why you're still a certain way, why you do certain things.
yeah, and well, let's see what Jacob said. For a person going through domestic violence, what levels of trauma affect a person mentally and emotionally, but also damage them spiritually? Oh my goodness. Can
Mm.
I talk? Can I talk
Yeah,
about the spiritual damage? Woo, hoo, hoo, hoo. What should be the healing process when a person is in a marriage? And how do Jacob, you go, okay, we get look, your questions can take us to the rest of the show. And how do the children start their healing process when they see different levels of domestic violence? Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's see. How do we break this down? Because let me are the questions clear, Misty?
Yeah, what levels of trauma affect the person mentally and emotionally, but also damage them spiritually. And
Mm,
again, it because it affects everyone differently and everyone is unique and different in their own way. There's a lot of times when it comes to the spirituality piece, people are feeling like, well, I'm talking to God and I'm praying to God. Why is God allowing me to be in this situation? So that's where it comes with the spirituality. And then you may have an abuser when dealing with domestic violence. Since that's what your question pertained to. When you're
yep.
dealing with domestic violence, you may have a abuser who's telling you, God don't love you, I'm your God. You may hear those type of things. So it's different things that you may be hearing and you're praying and you're talking to God and you're feeling like, God, where are you? Why me? So that
So
kind of, and then you got situations where the pastor is the abuser. So it just plays in a lot of different ways when it comes to the spirituality piece. Um, and then what should the healing process
Wait,
be?
we gotta stay right there just for a
Go
second.
ahead. Go ahead.
We gotta stay right there
I
just
know
for
you wanted to say something about that piece.
a second.
Go ahead.
Because my story is heavily rooted
Mhm.
in the church.
Mm.
And that's why I tell people, pimp God, play church. That was my story. My ex, my abuser, knew that that mattered to me, knew that my spiritual walk was important. So what do? They become what they heard you wanted, right?
Yeah.
And so in my situation, you want to talk about how do things damage you spiritually? I went into a marriage based on premarital, what do you call it? Your counseling and all that stuff. And I thought I was walking into a real marriage, but everybody around me, all of them, knew that it wasn't. So when I think about the situation of church, listen, I walked away for a while because I thought the same thing you said. I prayed, I fasted, I went to counseling, I did all this stuff that I'm supposed to do as a wife. God help me understand how this is my life. How is it my life? And so when you think, I mean, listen, all the stuff you said, it could be financial abuse, it could be emotional, psychological, all the things you named, right? Even physical abuse, it can be all of those. But when you are a Christian and you are taught how the importance of marriage and your vows, and then you hold off on divorce because you were taught that that's not what you're supposed to do, that you are supposed to pray and fast and your faith should be in the carpet and everything else, right? You are taught that. You believe that and you trust. So it isn't a particular type. I'm getting upset. It's not a particular type of abuse that creates the damage in the spiritual side. The spiritual side is that's your world, and you saw everything through it. And so when that's not the truth and all the cards fall, you are a whole mess because you can't understand, like you said, how am I still in this? How is this still happening? How didn't these people around me who knew? I'm still pissed about that. I told y'all, I ain't all the way healed. How did these people around me who all knew who he really was not say one word to me about who he was? You're going to have to pray for me by the end of this because that was personal. And I'm not over that one. And I don't hear from those people at all. None of them at all. So you want to talk about damage spiritually? Yeah, I know what that's like. I know what it's all like. Next question. Thank you, Jacob, because I probably just needed to say it.
Yeah, and I was about to say that what you just experienced, what you just did, is a part of that healing process. You have to say it, you have to speak it, you have to identify what it is, you have to acknowledge it, and you have to allow yourself to feel whatever emotion, like you're doing right now, whatever emotion, the anger, you're frustrated, you're disappointed, feel betrayed. Like how could
Betrayed. That's the word. That's the word. Betrayed.
Yep. And you have to allow yourself to experience it. Just kind of go through that emotion that you're feeling, and then
Yep.
you got to start releasing it.
Yep.
You know,
Oof.
but that's a different process for everybody. That comes at a different stage of healing for everyone. So
Yes.
it's not going to look the same for everybody.
Mm. Jacob, I'm gonna get you for asking that one. That was early in the process.
Yeah, he got
So, what should the healing process be when a person is in a marriage? Can I just make one comment and then I'm gonna let you go, Misty? Okay. I would like to formally put on record that marriage and communication issues, and we're just struggling, and we have differences of how we raise the kids. And okay, cool, go to counseling all day together. That's fine, even together. But I just want to say on record, when you're in a marriage and the marriage is one that involves domestic violence, you have to understand that the abuser has been manipulating the situation from day one when they met you. They're not going to stop. just because y'all sitting on a seat of a counselor's in a counselor's office. They're going to manipulate that situation too. And what is my point? Domestic violence is not a couples counseling issue. It's not. It's not it's not a communication problem. It's an abuser problem. So you got to really, and I tried that, and I'm saying this from experience. I probably saw 3 different counselors, including the pastor, all that stuff. Okay. He manipulated it in every scenario. It was, I want my family so bad. I love you so much. I want my family. I want my family to the counselor, right? We leave, get in the car. Soon as I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna say it. We get in the car, and from the minute we got in the car, I was a bitch. Let's be clear. Manipulating it left and right. So the things that people understand about counseling, they are real, but understand in a marriage of domestic violence, couples counseling is yet another playground for manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
Please hear me.
Excuse me.
I would do it separate. Go ahead, Misty. I'm not a therapist, so that's my own advice, my own experience.
That's the direction that I was going to go in with. What should the healing process be when a person is in a marriage? Honestly, truthfully, and honestly, if you're in a marriage and you're being abused and that person is not getting the help that they need, because like Angelique said, it's an abuser problem. However, you're not going to really be able to even start that healing journey if you're still in the middle of that mess. So that when you're in that marriage, you're going to have to start getting that strength to get out of it, to get out of that situation. You can't even begin to work on healing yet because you're still you focus on trying to be safe and stay alive.
Amen to that. I know he's got a question in about children. How do children start their healing process when they see different levels of domestic violence? Oh, the babies.
And that's the same. They have to be out of that situation. They can't heal in the middle of it.
Yeah.
They can't. They continue to be re-traumatized and re-traumatized, traumatized over here and traumatized over there. They can't even start that healing process.
Yes. Let me tell y'all something real quick. This is personal to me, and I have a really, really, really hard time talking about my daughter. But I just want to say something that's really important because I think people got to understand. People think once you get out of the situation, abuse is over. Like, whoo, I got out of it. We're done. Let me tell you something about post-separation abuse. So in the post-separation situation, now I'm out of it and I got my baby with me. But guess what? I wanted to get her healing. I didn't get to tell you this, Misty. I wanted to get her counseling. Do you know he was able to, and he did block me from getting her. Jacob, are you listening to me? He was able to and did block me from getting her counseling. Why? Because he was her other parent and it was medical or whatever. And I had these private counselors had to have his signature, the abuser had to have his signature for her to get counseling when he was the one that did it in front of her. How does that work? Somebody help me. So finally, in the final situation, in the final custody agreement, I was able to get approval to get her counseling. But at first, no, I'm not signing it. He didn't have to. So, all right. Whew. Jacob, I love you for that. Okay, wait, hold on. Wait a minute. Let me read this comment right here from Rebecca. One cannot heal in the same environment that broke you. And she said straight up. You can't. Thank you. And that's exactly what Misty was saying. Jacob said one more thing here. But in certain situations, the cycle is repeated from generation to generation. And how do families break the cycle of physical, mental, sexual? Hey, listen, Misty, he barking right up your leg. I'm just going to be quiet. I'm going to zip my lips and let you take this one because this is a lot.
Well, and I love it, Jacob. Thank you, because this is just oftentimes we see the repeated patterns of abuse, especially in our Black and brown families, because we normalize it and it's okay. Oh, that's just how such and such is, and we're kind of taught from childhood coming up that it's okay, that the person loves you, and so we grow up not even understanding what love truly is. We don't know what love is. We think it's okay to be getting beat, neglected, and the person can then come back and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, but I love you." That becomes normal. But how do we stop it? Is by acknowledging it. Somebody somewhere along that generational line has to say enough is enough and make the decision to stop it, and make the decision to acknowledge mental health for what it is, and to start educating and advocating for other members in the family and teaching other members in the family about it and what it is. A lot of times, often with the older generation, they're not even going to touch it.
Mm,
I'm not crazy. That's what they think. That person not crazy. They that stigma, crazy. That
mm,
word,
mm. Secrets run deep, don't they?
yes.
Family secrets. Oh, they
Family
run deep.
secrets, yes. And somebody has to make the decision to stop it. And like I said, acknowledge, call it out for what it is.
Wait a minute, hold on. Let me see what Chantel got up here. She said, as a child survivor of abuse at 40 years old, I'm still dealing with the memories of my mother and father's domestic violence issues.
Mhm.
A child will forever be affected by the abuse. Mm. I got a question, Chantel. If you can answer, if you don't want to, don't. But you say as a child abuse survivor at 40 years old, at what point did you get out? Did you stop seeing the abuse between your mother and father? What age about were you when you stopped seeing the abuse between your mother and father? I'm interested. I got my baby out at 4. How old were you before you stopped seeing it between your mom and dad? If you were okay with answering that, it's just an interesting question. Um, oh, wait a minute. But I gotta see what she wrote this. As a child, I thought all daddies beat mommies.
There you go, that generational norm.
Oh my gosh. And Rebecca chimed in again. General curses are a real thing. Generational curses are a real thing. It's up to us to step up and do
Hmm.
the work to break them.
Exactly.
It's stuff like this.
Hmm.
Okay, listen. What I'm saying is my baby, as far as I can control it, she will never see it again. As much as I got to do with it,
You got to, yeah.
she will never see it again. Ever. And so I talk to her. I can't talk to her about domestic violence. She knows I have a wreath on my door that says domestic violence survivor, right? So she knows I talk about it, but she doesn't really get it. But
Hmm.
I talk to my daughter from the perspective of bullying. That's how I talk to her because I'm teaching her what people interactions should be like, what friends really are, what you should be okay with. And so listen, boundaries. Talk about breaking it, teach boundaries.
Hmm.
She has a friend who recently hung up on her on the phone. And I said, well, wait a minute, did she just hang up on you? Boundaries. We're going to talk about that's not okay. As simple as that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those disrespectful behaviors that are yellow flags, you got to look out for those even as kids.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know if Chantel put that comment in there. Okay, she responded. My mother left when I was 10 years old, but I still see it today. Although they are separated, it never ends.
Mm.
It becomes normal after a while. Neither parent wants to speak to me. Neither parent wants to speak to me about it.
And you see the words she said, it becomes normal after a while.
Yeah. My God. Oh, listen, I got y'all. I told y'all I prepare a ton every week, but it's stuff like this that sends us where we need to go in these
Mhm.
conversations. It's stuff like this that sends us where we need to go. And I'm going to go wherever it's going to
Yeah.
take us. So here's my thing. Thank you, Renata. Hey, beautiful. Um, So now we've talked about all this stuff, and even I like lost it for a moment there because I got some stuff that has not been resolved. Misty, can I lay on your chair? Oh my gosh. I mean, I got some stuff still that hasn't been resolved,
Process.
right?
It is a true
It's a
process.
process.
Hmm.
But I guess the question is, it's like, how do people, I don't know how to form the question, but like, okay, so something happened to me. I
Hmm.
got some problems. But how do you even like get to the point where you recognize the need to heal? Like there's like I went through it. And then there's like I'm healing from it. But there's like stuff in between. How do you even get to the point where you go, I gotta call Misty. I need a Misty in my life. How do you even get there?
Some it's that is different for everyone also, because
Yeah.
some people, they may just never get there. They may just feel like, they don't even want to deal with it. They feel like if they talk about it or they go through the healing process, it's only going to make it worse. But then you got some people who like, hey, I need my life back. They get tired. So once you get to that point and you're tired of going through, you're tired of just carrying all that weight around because it becomes so burdensome. The
Mm.
depression that you get, the anxiety that you just get tired and fed. Some people just get mad, just get
Oh,
fed.
oh, what about the self-destructive people?
Yeah,
Yeah, you get to a point where you're like destroying yourself, and maybe you wake up or some friend says something to you that makes you understand you cannot be on this path anymore.
exactly.
Do you see who you are and where you are at this place? Oh man, it's so
So it's
interesting.
like what you were saying about the coping. Some people, their coping is so different that they, like you said, the self-destructive behaviors. Okay, so now I'm an alcoholic
Oh,
or some other substance, because that's my way of coping. And in that
mm,
moment, I feel okay. I don't feel that pain. I don't have to deal with the situation in that moment. I'm numbing
mm,
myself to it. But once you're done with that moment of high, that situation is still there.
still there.
So you're repeating that cycle. So now I got to go cope again.
Mm. So you get nowhere. That right there is a hamster wheel.
Yep.
That's a hamster wheel. Why? Because you still feel, in my case, you still feel the shame. You still
Mhm.
feel the guilt. You feel like you're full of despair. You feel like what happened to my beliefs? Like I was a Christian. This
The
is how I'm
hope is
supposed to go.
gone.
I'm like, I can't stay here anymore. I'm drowning in what I was telling you, Misty, and I didn't get to really talk through this with you, but I just remember feeling like I can't stay here and I don't know how to heal because why? I don't even know what happened to me. Like,
Mhm.
I don't even, y'all, listen, y'all, let me tell you something. For the longest time, like people tell you, you gotta do something about it. You gotta understand, you gotta forgive. We'll get to forgiveness in a second. I was unable to heal, to forgive, to any of those words because I still didn't even know what happened to me or how I got there.
Mhm.
I needed to understand. I mean, I'm a domestic violence victim, like you see on TV. Me, Angelique, or if you knew me when I was growing up, Shorty, Shorty, not Shorty, and it made no sense to me, and so I was so desperate to understand what
Mhm.
happened to me, how in the heck I got there, how did I get duped from my money to my mind to everything. I needed a Misty. I had to find a Misty because I was breaking. So
Mhm.
thank you for being Misty and for what you do for people because we are lost in our minds without people like you. We got some comments. Wait a minute, hold on. Let's see what Renata said. That's an awesome question. How do you identify? I mean, aren't we tired of being triggered, angry? Oh my God. Aren't we tired of being triggered, angry, mad, walking around a shell of oh my God, of the person we were? Maybe you do have to get tired. What do you think, Misty?
Mhm.
You got to get tired a little bit?
And I think it was you and I were having this conversation, and I say we just get to the point where we're trying to find who we were. And you when you in that cycle of trying to find who you were, you feel like you were just lost. But at some point, you have to stop and realize you're no longer even that person who you were.
Mm-hmm.
You're now somebody totally different. But once you go through your healing, you can be a better version of even who that person that you were.
Yeah. I
Better,
don't,
stronger version of that person.
do you think people ever go back to who they were? Meaning, like, I can get back to the Angelique I was before my trauma.
I think once people go through trauma and they heal from it, they don't go back to who they were. I just feel like because they are so much more confident in themselves, they're
Mm,
stronger, they're just more independent, they're just more determined to not get back to that cycle of abuse. So I feel like they don't go back to that.
yeah. And you know what else you are? You are darn sure more aware.
Yes.
You won't dupe me like that again,
Mhm.
sir.
You pick up on those
Not you.
signs quick.
Hey, the double negative. Not you, not nobody. Not nobody. Let me see what Renata said. Don't we want to be free of the past, the stigma, the guilt, or of the what is that?
Free of the
Of
fear
being
of
found
being
out, or the
found
fear.
out.
Maybe it's the fear of being found out.
Yeah.
You know what's so crazy? I remember. Let me tell you something. I said this on one of my other shows, Misty. I had this image. Renata knows we used to work together. I had this image, this corporate America thing going on. And, I was, the leader, the manager of this and the presenter of that and the blah, 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 right? Drive this kind of car and I live in this certain neighborhood with this many bedrooms in my house. And it was so hard for me. What I'm doing right now, you couldn't have told me I'd have been doing this a year or two ago. Who, me? No. Because I felt like if I told anybody, Renata, baby, if I told anybody what I've been through, they won't see me the same. They won't think I can lead. They won't think I'm smart. How you getting that? You ain't see that coming? How you let somebody abuse you? I thought my entire brand would be destroyed, that I could never tell this story. Look at me now. I got a weekly podcast telling this story. And if you don't like it, whoever, right? Because I know who I am. And I'm actually a better version of who I was.
That's right.
Now I'm a better version. Some things don't get past me. Hello? So so let me see what Sophie said. I'm so glad she's doing. She has a wonderful Facebook page on domestic violence and she posts all the time. She gets on there, says prayer. So Sophie, thank you for joining. She said, yes, so true. You see more clear. You do. You do. So thank you, Misty. Now let's talk about, I don't want to lose on this because we got about 15. Listen, I tell people I stay a couple minutes extra if the conversation is good. So we know you've been through something that requires healing. And at some point you can't carry it no more. You just can't. Whatever the reason is, however it's coming out, you cannot carry it anymore.
Yeah. It's too much.
And so that's it. Therein lies the recognition of the need for some help, for some healing. So that's all. Even the recognition is part of the journey. Am I right? The recognizing is a part of the journey.
Yeah.
Then there's the actual healing process where people like you, God, I think, Misty, is people like you that help us see what we literally can't see. Because listen, I'm gonna tell you a quick story, then we're gonna get into this. One of my counselors, I think I had like 4, I swear to God. One of my counselors was one of the ministers at the new church I had joined, because I left the church I was at, obviously, right? Bye. But the new church I had joined, and I had one of my first sessions with him, and I was crying my eyes out. Like I could barely speak a sentence to this man because I was so hurt about what happened at my other church. And he said, I'm gonna tell you a story. I said, okay. So, okay, right. I can't even get together. And he said, one day I was walking down the street. It was me, my wife, and my 2 daughters. And I said, I'm thinking like, where's this story going, right? So he said one of his daughters was like looking at this sign at the corner. And he goes, baby, what's that sign say? And she says, I can't see it. And he's like, what do you mean? Like, it's a sign. Now, it's a sign. It's big on the corner. What do you mean you can't see it? What does it say, baby? Like, read the sign to daddy. And I can't see it. And he said, he was like, thinking like, what? How could she not see this sign that's right in front of all of us? And then he stopped and it hit him that she really couldn't see the sign. He said, Angelique, I wore glasses. My wife wore glasses and her sister wore glasses. She didn't have glasses. Maybe she didn't have the right lens on to be able to see that sign. And he said, let me tell you something. You don't have the right lenses on right now to see or understand what you've been through. You'll never be able to see it. Not right now. Because what you're seeing through, it's so cloudy. You'll never see what that sign actually is. And I was like, yes, like I couldn't, because I didn't have it. I didn't have the glasses, the vision that I needed to see what I'd really been through and why I've been through it. So let's talk about this journey to healing. You have got to see it with the right eyes, and it's eyes like yours that help us see what we've really been through. So I'm gonna shut up now, but let's talk about this thing just a little bit. Oh,
so with healing, of course, and many don't want to hear this, that word, that big F word.
I don't want to hear. I'm hitting mute. I'm muting you. I don't even want to hear. I'm muting you. Go ahead.
Forgiveness. Forgiveness. Forgiveness has to be a part of the healing journey. And it's so hard and it's one of those things, one of those situations where it's kind of like, if I forgive this person, that means I'm saying it's okay. I'm letting them get away with what they did to me. They need to feel my pain.
Mm.
But we have to realize that forgiveness is not about them, it's not for them, it's for us. We have to acknowledge what happened to us so that we could even start to even begin to forgive. Forgiveness doesn't mean you're giving away any power. You're actually taking your power back
Oof.
because you're
Yes.
releasing yourself and you're releasing that person from you and what they've done to you. So it's one of those. Forgiveness is hard. It's very, very difficult to forgive someone when they have betrayed you, they've hurt you, they've damaged you, they've beat you down. It's hard, but it has to be a part of the process.
Yeah. So y'all, I'm just gonna warn y'all right now. I have already expressed to Misty that this is a hard space for me.
Mhm.
Um, and let me tell y'all why it's hard for me. And I'm still working on it because it's one thing, and Misty, just stick with me here just for a second. It's one thing when something happened and you're out of it, and
Mhm.
you're completely out of it, and you are healing. You can start this process because, as I said, you're out of it. It's another thing in the realm of domestic violence. And I know there's some people on here, Sophie, I know you know what I'm talking about. Some of y'all know what I'm talking about. When you get out and they won't let you be out. They are, first of all, my dude, my ex was pissed that I even got the protection order. He did not see it coming. He was going, in his words, I leave when I'm good and ready, right? So he wasn't expecting the protection order and to be removed by the sheriffs. Wasn't expecting it. So he was caught off guard. He didn't do all the damage he intended to do. So
Mhm.
what happened? I'm gonna get you at the after party.
Yep.
I'm gonna get you at the after party. What did that look like for me? Oh my God. It was everything from not letting me speak to my child to putting stuff in court orders and motions and putting lies in court documents. For instance, that I was sleeping with men while away at work so that he can get alimony. So he was bringing a case against me to say that I cheated on him so that he could get the courts to give him alimony when he's the entire reason that we were separated and divorcing. So how do you, and I'm going to say this to you because I'm going to ask it the way I want to ask it. How can you start healing if healing requires a bit of forgiveness, and but the forgiveness can't come because the person is still torturing you after the fact, post-separation abuse?
Mhm.
Hard question, not a simple answer. I know it's complicated, but I'm sticking it to you because you got all these degrees and all this experience, and you got to tell us the answers,
But
boss.
listen, it goes back to what we were saying. If you're in the middle of that mess, you can't even begin the healing process. So in that moment, you couldn't even really begin to heal because you were still trying to protect yourself. You were still trying to be in a place where you feel secure and okay.
Yes.
So you couldn't even process or even begin to think. How can you forgive someone if they're continuing to do the same thing over and over and over and over? You haven't
Yes.
been able to be removed from the situation yet to
Yes.
begin the healing process.
Yes. That was difficult. And it took so long. Like I sent out a message to everybody, and Sophie, I think you got it on your Facebook page too. And it was a song. The song is called Bravo by Lettucey. And I'm just gonna tell y'all, like, I carried so much for so long. So Bravo, let me give y'all the backstory real quick. Bravo by Lettucey was a song that I fell in love with like late 2011, early 2012. And I said, you know what? I love this song so much that I'm going to use it as the song that my bridesmaids walked down the aisle to. And it was the song they walked down the aisle to. And I was in the background like, bravo, oh, 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 bravo, oh, oh. Come on, clap for yourself now. Right? That's
Yeah.
me. I love that song. And what ended up happening was in my marriage, my ex-husband and I had a recording studio. Music was all through our house. I love music. I used to sing all that kind of stuff, right? But in that situation, I began to hate music, hate it. So I get out of the situation and I cannot listen to any, like I couldn't listen to music at all. For an entire year, my house was silent. It took me to have to sell, first of all, I had to sell my house because of him to get out of the debt that he helped put me in. But I sell my house. I had to move into an apartment. It was my dad who played the first sound of music for me in my apartment on one of his old school records. And I was like, I almost told him to shut it off. But then I listened and I got back a little bit. I was in so much pain. Forgiveness wasn't even a thought. But finally, music came back into my life. And that song, Bravo by Lettucey, that I had not heard or sung in over a year, I can now play that song. And I sent it to y'all because she basically says, like, I know myself. I'm an amazing, phenomenal person. I'm a clap for myself now. She said, she said, I ain't even got one sad tear left in me. All I really want is to see the whole world stand up tonight. So it's like this journey. Even music was a part of my healing. Cutting my hair was a part of my healing. Can I tell y'all that? Cutting my hair off because I said, you will not control anything else about me. I'm gonna wear it like how I want it. Renata, if you still on here, she knows when I was supposed to when I was supposed to go natural, and he didn't want me to go natural. Your hair is beautiful, by the way. He didn't want me to go natural. He wanted this long, straight perm, whatever going on. And I was like, oh, well, I'm not gonna go natural no more, Renata. She's like, what? You were just getting ready to go natural. What happened? Oh, I just decided. No, I ain't just decided. He decided for me.
He decided for you. Yep.
This was even a part of my healing. Where you at, Renata? There you go. She knows this was even part of my healing. Chopping my hair off and saying, tell me what to do with it now. What you gonna say now? Nothing. So anyway, healing,
Yes.
forgiveness is quite a journey. And
Yes.
I know there are areas, Misty, I know there's areas I have not healed in, especially the spiritual side. So I still got some pent up feelings of betrayal. But I am healed enough that I can sit on here and I can share my growth with anybody who's ready to listen. I told Misty about this book, y'all. Hold on. I'm going to try to bring it to the camera focus. It's so hard. Y'all see that? The Wounded Healer. This is a big one. All right, y'all saw it. Okay. The Wounded Healer. It's people like y'all that are on here listening. When I say, I remember. It's people on here that are wounded, but we take our pain. So there's got to be some level of forgiveness in there, right? Did we get some healing? Yes. We take our pain and we help others. Tell me, make me feel a little bit better, right?
Yeah, that's a part of your healing. But remember, I didn't say forgiveness is healing.
Okay.
Healing.
It's part of the healing.
Part of it, yes. Because so you're at the place where you're at and you're able to speak out about it.
Yes.
But you're still holding on to some anger. You're still mad and bitter in certain areas of what you experience.
Yep.
So that's the part that you're still dealing with. And you got to start forgiving in that part, in that area. Once you start doing that, then you know that it's a little easier. You won't get so mad and angry every time you speak about that piece of it.
Can I say something?
Right, Renata, it's layers. It's like peeling back that onion. It's just different layers.
But see, here's the thing. All right, I know I'm not the only one. I'm going to keep saying it because I just hope I'm not the only one that feels some of this stuff. So here's my thing. I found it very difficult to heal when the person who did the wrong never acknowledged it, never said, my bad, I'm sorry, how can I help you? I can think of a couple. Let me correct myself. There was a certain person, she knows exactly who she is to her. I will leave her unnamed because I don't know if she wants to be named. But there's a certain person, a beautiful queen, who stood by me, and I appreciate her. But for everybody else that I was hoping for, my bad, what can I do to help you and the baby? How can I help you? No. And I was looking for somebody to say, I'm sorry, like something. And I never got that. And that was a part of why it was hard to heal, because I was looking for the people who knew I was good, knew my heart was good, who I stood for them and stood by them. Now nobody's standing by me. How do you like, how to ask the question? How do you get past it when the people who hurt you have never said a word to you and they've gone about their merry way? How you do that?
Stop
Oh,
expecting.
stop expecting. Jesus Christ.
Stop expecting it. You just have to accept what is. You have to accept that happened. You can't undo it. Yeah, they still can come. They still have the opportunity if they are still living and breathing. They got the opportunity to come,
Yeah.
but they may not, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah,
Other
that's
than
true.
just accept it and stop expecting it.
I think I've I think I've stopped expecting it. I'm still not over the fact
You
that
haven't accepted, yeah,
yeah, I haven't accepted it.
you haven't accepted it.
Yeah. You know what it is? A part of it is that like you think people are going to behave like you. Like you
Mhm.
think people will do what you would do,
Yep,
and that's not the case.
that's not the case.
So that person who I told y'all, that one, she knows who she is. I don't know if she'll ever see this, but she knows who she is. And she stood by me all the way until I was on my 2 feet again. And I appreciate her for that. But one of the things she said to me was, she basically said, stop looking for healing from the people who are never going to give it to you.
Hmm.
Stop looking for healing from people who are never going to give it to you. And I was like, right, right, right. It took me a second to digest that one. But y'all hear me out there? Shawnee said, hey, girl, she in Chicago. She in Chi-Town. Forgiving without an apology or even acknowledgement is damn near impossible. Woo! What you got to say to Shawnee?
It is a difficult one. It really is.
Mm, mm.
But
So
once you
I'm
get
not
to
by
that
myself,
point,
Misty. Look, I'm not by
I
myself.
know there are a lot of people, and I was one of those people too. Like, I can't forgive that person. They never even said they were sorry. They never even said, I did this to you, that I hurt you. But I realized I had to just accept the fact that I may never get that from them. But I needed to heal and I needed to move forward with my life, because holding on to that anger, it takes so much energy out of you.
Yeah.
So I had to do what was best for me in my healing journey.
Yes.
And that's what I, try to help other people to see. You may never get that. That's, like I said, that's where that acceptance comes in at. Just
Mm,
acceptance. I may never get that from that person. And that's okay. And forgiving that person again, that doesn't mean that you said it's okay what they did. That doesn't mean that you have to go and smile and hee hee ha ha and be in that person's face or
I know that's right.
that person. You don't have to do those things because you've released them. You've released that person from your life.
Agreed. Agreed. So I'm gonna show a couple comments because people are saying some things, and Chantel just says something else. Is cutting the cords of abuse forgiveness or avoiding the situation altogether? Is cutting the cords of abuse forgiveness or avoiding this? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I understand what she's saying. Like,
Okay.
if you just kind of stop the abuse, is that forgiveness or is that just you now avoiding the situation because
Oh. Oh. Okay. Yep. Yep.
the
Yep.
relationship?
Yep.
Is that forgiveness or just avoiding the situation? And it can be either or, Chantel. It just kind of depends on that individual. If they cut the course just because, okay, I'm not even going to deal with this person, but they're still holding on to that anger, they're still angry, bitter, and just want revenge and want that person to feel their pain, then they're just avoiding the situation altogether. They haven't forgiven. So forgiveness
Yes.
again comes with letting go of all of those toxic emotions that you have.
Yep. So you had it right. I clearly I wasn't reading. I was I was like, I'm not sure what she's saying. All right, so I'm gonna tell y'all right now, I'm giving Misty like another 10 minutes or so because there's a couple of things I want to make sure she says. Because we were talking about the phases of healing, and I know there aren't like strict phases necessarily, but there are some things that we already said that kind of play into this. Healing is a process, and that process happens in a different order, or some pieces of the process are longer or shorter depending on who it is. But to your point earlier, the first thing you got to do to heal, especially if we're talking about DV or abuse of some type, is to get safe, is to get into a place of safety and stabilization. You
Mhm.
can't even start to heal without first getting there. Tell us more about that, Misty.
Exactly. That's- But basically, it's just like what we just said.
Yeah,
If you are still in that place, your brain is still processing, and you're still trying to be safe. Or you're gonna be in that situation where you just kind of numb to it, and it's a part of your norm, and you're just gonna continue to go through it. So that cycle is gonna continue. It's gonna continue and keep going. But you want to, if you realize once you identify, okay, this isn't for me. This isn't where I should be, and you want to get out. You got to get to that safe place. You got to feel safe and secure, and that's where those coping skills comes in as
yeah,
well. When you're starting to get to that point of feeling safe and knowing that you're safe, then you can start the healing process.
mm,
Sometimes, I mean, it's years before people truly heal. You can go from a childhood and be in your 40s or 50s before you truly heal.
absolutely.
And that's why it's a journey.
Yes.
It
And
really is.
I will tell you from my side, it took me a while to feel safe and especially stable. It took me a while because I was in and out of court. Like as much as you went to the bathroom, I felt like, you know what I mean? Like I felt like I was always fighting. I was always, what
Mhm.
is he going to take from me now?
Yeah.
What is he going? Is he freezing my assets for real? Like, is he freezing my bonus money for real? Like, I can't even spend my own money. How is
Mhm.
this possible? Like, I had so much coming at me. Is he going to try to get my baby? Is he going to introduce my baby to another situation of abuse with the next chick? Like,
Yeah.
what is happening here? I felt like my world was all. Is he really going to get half the value of my house? Is he really gonna get half of my 401k? Like I was, oh my God, I felt so vulnerable and I
You
was
were,
all
yeah,
over the
you were
place.
in fight mode. You were
I
still,
was fighting and
yeah.
fighting and fighting. So my safety and stabilization period lasted a long time. It was a long time before I felt safe and stable.
Mhm.
The whole thing about selling my house, I had to like the house, my first house ever, I suddenly had to sell it. Why? Because of him?
Yeah.
Like this ain't right. So it was wild. But then when you that's the first phase, right? I had to like get through that. And then there's another thing we talk about where you get out of that and you're now kind of getting back to a norm. And in DV, I'll just talk about DV. You will, in the process of going through abuse, you will have lost a lot of friends. You will have lost a
Mhm.
lot of relationships. And so you feel like, gosh, you're thinking of those people. You're remembering what you went through. You're mourning the relationships. You're mourning the marriage or whatever you actually are, right?
You are,
Isn't grief
yeah,
like
you
this
are.
phases
It's
of grief
grief.
too?
Yeah, yep, it's
Let's
grief.
talk about that. Let's talk about the remembrance and the mourning part of the healing process.
So with that part, and when you're referring to just the morning part of the marriage or the relationships or just
Relationship or whatever, yeah.
so yeah, because there are certain needs that were being met,
Mm,
and now that you're letting go of all of that, you're kind of you feel like an empty spot where those particular emotional needs were being met. Although
yep.
you were in that abusive situation, there was still some connection there,
Yeah.
the need being met from that individual.
Because you
So
remember, right? Like
yeah,
people tell you,
your body remember
I
your
didn't
body.
marry him. He wasn't abusing me from day one, right? I
Yeah.
didn't marry somebody like, oh, I'm good with all of that. Just keep doing all that. We'll just get married too. Like I didn't do that. Like so you do remember
Yeah.
the what was good.
Yeah. And your body yearns for it. Your body remembers it.
Mm.
You remember the good things, those moments of just pure joy and just the things that satisfied you. You remember that stuff.
And you know what else, Misty? To be quite honest, anybody on here that's been through DV, they will admit that it is those memories that kept you in the mess in the first
Yes.
place,
Mhm.
that kept you saying, I know at some point the old him is going to show up
Show up.
because he said I'm sorry, because he seems so like apologetic and he seems so remorseful for what happened. And that's how it is early. That's how they keep you in the cycle of abuse. And then any of y'all tell y'all, and anybody that's been through DV will tell you that those periods of calm get shorter and shorter and shorter. And next thing you know, it's always on. It's always abuse. It's always something. At some point, the little honeymoon phases, they start to go away.
Yeah.
And so then whatever you're looking for, whatever you're remembering, yeah, no, it's really old at that point.
Yeah.
But
And
anyway,
once
go
you
ahead.
get to that point where you realize that you're just looking for that moment and you can get that need fulfilled some other type of way by loving yourself, you can get
Absolutely.
feel you can start you can
Woo!
get
Yes.
even
Look,
more.
Sophie said, we are fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yes, we are.
If we could just remember that sometimes. Ooh. So you remember, you mourn. We talk about grief. Grief has many phases of grief. We won't even get into all that because that's a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
Do know that on the internet, you can literally look that up. The phases of grief or mourning. That stuff is, and some people stay in like the anger or like the denial phases for long periods of time,
Yep.
refusing to accept the reality. Oh my gosh, that alone is just crazy. So
Yeah.
now take step forward. So now I've gotten to my safety.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten a little more stable. So I'm out of the situation completely. Let's go with that. I do find myself remembering and mourning, right? That's almost what gets women to go back into DV
Mm-hmm.
situations, the remembrance and mourning. So that's where it takes the strength to stay out. Is saying no. I know better. I know what's back behind door number 2. I know what's behind door number 2. I don't want it. So now you got through that. You remembered, you mourn, you've been through the phases. And now there's a part called reconnection, right? Reconnecting to what is good and what was good. In
Mm-hmm.
my case, it was my best friend. Her name is Tanara. And I known Tanara since we were 5. Are y'all listening to me? 5 years old, Miss McCann's music class at Pastorius Elementary School. I ain't lying. I couldn't stand her because she was the teacher's pet. But my best friend, right? I lost her in the process. And we didn't speak for like 5 years. She hadn't even met my daughter. Like, oh my God, just the whole thing. She was the person that I had to reconnect with. I had to. And you know what? She took me back.
Yeah,
God
that's what's so good about it. Because sometimes those relationships are just gone.
mm, mm. And you never get them back,
Yeah.
right? But
Yep.
and we talk about, she's still learning about what happened to me. She's still, these recordings, these podcasts are helping her to learn more about what happened.
Mm.
It's just interesting. But you got to reconnect. Why is reconnecting so important to the healing process?
You got that when you reconnect with people who you have to mend relationships because a lot of times they're angry with you.
Mm,
So when you go and you reconnect, like I said, sometimes you get those relationships back, sometimes you don't. But oftentimes those individuals are angry with you because they feel like you changed. You're a different person. They don't understand, or maybe they didn't even know what you were dealing with.
hmm They even know, or
Yeah,
didn't fully know. They couldn't fully know.
yeah,
And you're
exactly.
right. Sometimes people are like, I mean, it got so bad between me and my best friend. Like, listen, she'll tell you to this day, she never cursed at me ever until that day when it ended between us.
Oh wow.
And I thought I was speaking. Listen to me, y'all. I thought I was speaking my feelings to her.
Mm-hmm.
You know whose feelings I was speaking?
Yes.
His.
Mm-hmm.
You know whose voice that was? His. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't even realize it. All the stuff that he had somehow planted in my mind, I allowed to be planted in my mind about her. When I know her since we were 5,
Yeah,
I began. Ooh, go ahead.
he had to cut that support off.
Yes, isolation is key to
Mhm.
abuse.
Yep.
Isolation is key to abuse, and especially with a firecracker like Tanara. Let me tell you, he knew he had to knock her out the box quick.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
ain't lying. So
He recognized which one would be the one that will really help you through it and get you away from him quicker. Yeah.
yes, yep, she was gonna catch it like, shorty, So we just said it, y'all. Forgiveness is somewhere in that process, though. It doesn't always happen
Yeah.
before safety and stabilization. It always doesn't happen at the end. It happens somewhere in the
Somewhere in
process.
there. Yeah.
Yep. So we got through safety and stabilization. Let's just say we had to go through the process of remembering and mourning. We finally have some ways of reconnecting and almost like reintegrating ourselves into with the people that we need to, that are our true support and that truly love us. Go ahead.
You got to reconnect to yourself too.
Oh, come on now. You're gonna preach that one. Come on.
And
Come
that's
on.
one thing to think about too. You got to reconnect to yourself and you got to forgive yourself. You got
Mm,
to forgive yourself for being in that situation. Sometimes we are angry, mad at ourselves. Like, why did I do that? I was so stupid. And you start talking down on yourself. So you got to go through that whole process of not just forgiving the
mm,
person in the situation. You got to forgive yourself.
mm. That is so hard. Listen, I'm not a big person that's into like astrology or anything like that. but my birthday is August 29th. I'm a Virgo. And Virgos, we are practical, we are logical, we know the right answer, we know how to get there. I had the hardest time understanding how I miss. And I tell people all the time, I do this to be smart. I went to Penn State. I have 2 master's degrees. I drive this. I live here. How did I miss that? Ain't got nothing to do with any of that. It
No,
has nothing to do with any of that. You
nothing.
could be the smartest person in America. You could listen. It happens to, and I'm just talking DV. It happens to all kinds of people
Mm-hmm.
in all parts of the world, all ages, all types of careers. Doesn't matter, because it's not about smarts at all.
Not.
Woo! All right. So, oh, thank you, Sophie. Okay, Sophie, me and you got to meet, girl. Okay, so I told myself, I said, I know you got these basic phases or whatever in relation to getting through the healing process, but I added one. Misty, give me the license to just add one. I know I'm not you, and I ain't got all this, down like you, but I added a phase, and to me, the phase was after all that reconnection, all that kind of stuff. I said that there needs to be another phase in there of establishing new boundaries
And that's
and
true.
charting a new course,
That is
because
so
now you're not the same, and you need to know how to function as the new you, and how to protect the new you, and to move forward in life as the new you
true.
with new boundaries on a new course.
Mm-hmm.
Can you feel me on that one?
I feel you.
Yeah,
That's so true. That is
I
so
just
true.
so Chantel says learning to love yourself
Yes.
beyond abuse is a journey as well, and comes with forgiveness.
Yes.
Oh, listen, half of y'all on here need to be. Listen, do y'all need? You gonna get a license in North and South Carolina too? Y'all know some stuff. Y'all know some stuff, and that's the beauty of all of this. Us sharing. I told y'all from the beginning, it's gonna be a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So last thing I want to talk about, and I won't get too deep because hey, at the end of the day, this isn't like medical advice, right? But it's just ideas. You use certain techniques. A lot of therapists use certain techniques to help us
Mm-hmm.
think through um, what we've been through and how to almost frame it. Because when it happens, we are not properly framing what we went through. But during the healing process, people like you, Misty, help us properly frame it.
Mm-hmm.
So what's some of the ways that you do that? I know we talked about one of them that has to do with writing. What's one of the some of the things that you use?
Yeah. And I want, like I said, I won't get very specific on the
Right,
different techniques because we don't want anyone to feel like they're getting
right,
advice and go and try anything. So I'd be more general.
right.
And with the writing, there comes the journaling.
Yeah.
And you want to really, like we were saying, you want to be able to identify and acknowledge, name what happened, name the situation, name it, put a name on it, and write about it, how you feel, just kind of the
Yep.
emotion that you're having when you're thinking about it, what it does to you, how you're feeling about it. So now you're starting to get it out. You're starting to get it out of here, and you're starting to put it on paper. So that's
Yeah.
journaling is one of the big ones. And then the positive affirmations and music, another
The
one.
thing I didn't want to listen to, right?
Yes, I like to have people identify certain music and certain songs. And I think I mentioned to you, there's one in particular that I like, and she's Tony Jones. Everyone's not going to connect with that, but just being able to find someone that you can connect to through music and they can speak that positivity and speak those emotions for you. And then you
Yes.
can go and you can write, you can journal about that. Um, Also, taking care of yourself.
Mm,
I'm huge on that piece. When it comes to healing, you have to not just release the toxins from your mind and those emotions, but a lot of times we have to go through a full cleanse. We have to
mm.
really go through a full cleanse and get into that, to the health piece and the wellness piece of that, because a lot of times we can't do that because all the toxins, we got the emotional toxicity, and then we got the toxins from all the foods that we put in our body. So taking care of yourself, your inner,
Mm.
that wellness piece, that comes into play once you start your healing journey.
Let me tell you, Chantel, I know she listening. You are like bowling right down her lane. She always talks about what's going in your body.
Yeah.
Listen, this is right down her lane. So let me back you up a step, because you talked about taking care of yourself. And if I recall correctly, you make a distinction, because this is another buzzword, self-care, right? You
Mm-hmm.
make a distinction between self-care and another phrase. What do you call it?
Self-love.
Keep going. Let's
Yeah.
talk about that.
So there's a difference between, so self-care. I did some self-care today. I got my nails done. That's self-care. And a lot of times people get that mixed up. They say, "Oh, I love myself. You know, I'm practicing self-love because I go get my hair done, I get my nails done, pedicures, manicures, those type things." Those are just you maintaining your body. So you're doing some self-care, like you care for your car, the motor in your car. You go get that tune up. Self-love is a lot deeper. It's just
Mm.
so much deeper. That's when you really tune into who you are. You know what you're gonna tolerate. You have boundaries in place. You're okay with saying no. You know what makes you who you are as a whole person, and you're okay with who you are, and you love
Mm.
who you are. You embrace who you are.
You know what else you're okay with? Your truth.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what you're okay with, is your truth.
Hmm.
When you can speak it, because it was so hard for me to speak it. When you can speak it, like for
Yeah.
me to say the words domestic violence, I thought like people are gonna be like,
And that's what I'm saying. You're not worried about what people are going to say about your truth. You're able to speak about it, and you're okay with it because you realize it's not about those people. There's another. You went through that situation that you went through, and you're walking and you're talking and you're breathing. That means you still have a purpose.
"Amen." Oh my God!
You
Don't.
have a purpose.
Uh, ah,
So that's just like, you are broken, but when a glass is broken, and I don't, you can put that glass back together again. And sometimes
mm.
once you put it back together again, it's a beautiful piece of artwork, and it's
Mm.
useful. It has a purpose again.
Yeah, that's that Japanese art kintsugi, right?
Yes, and it's
Mm.
not like it's just shattered into a million pieces. So we have to think of ourselves like that. Just because we're broken, it don't mean we can't be put back together again.
Mm.
So once we go through that process of healing and being put back together, the beauty that can come out of that.
Oh my gosh! And then the part you said earlier, you're still here, so you still have a purpose.
You have a
That part
purpose.
right there.
Yeah.
That part right there. I have a sorority sister, so I'm a Delta, and I talk about my sorors all the time because they were a huge part of getting me back on my feet. Lord have mercy. But one of my line sisters, she always said, "Stop saying you're broken." Like she's like, "You are bent, not broken." Do
Not
you
broken.
understand? You're bent, not broken. So I started being like, hashtag bent, not broken. In my post on Facebook. Hashtag bent, not broken. April says something. April, you know I'm hyped that you on here. You know I'm hyped. Girl, listen. April said, getting over the embarrassment is
It's so
so
hard.
hard.
Yeah,
It's so
it
hard.
is. It really is.
But then Sophie came back and said, God gives
Like
us
this is
beauty.
beautiful ashes. Yes.
Ooh, it's some powerful women on this call today, baby. Hey, Jacob, powerful men, powerful men. Let me just see what Chantel said. I know we're coming to a close, but I want to say something really important too.
She's
We must feel it to heal it. Ooh. See, I told you she all about what's going on inside the body, right? Starting with the food we eat to what we speak. We cannot heal what we forget to feel. Look at that. Remove all the toxins from the mind, body, and soul
to
to
be
be whole
I
again.
like you, Chantel.
Listen, talk about my sister. That's my sister right there. Don't be trying to like my sister. That's my trying to steal away from me. All right. So here's the thing, Misty, I ain't gotta tell it because it's in the comments. You are phenomenal. You are a queen. You are precious to my spirit right now. Like you really, really are. You are handling me because I can be a firecracker. I know I can. But thank you for everything. And there are people who may want to get in touch with you. I did not prepare you for this, y'all. I promise I did not tell her this in advance. So there are people who may want to get in touch with you after this point. Is there a phone number they should call, or a website they should go to, or a Facebook page they should follow?
They,
Anybody?
yes, they can go to my website, in this Journeys of Life,
There we
Journey,
go.
journeysoflifetherapy.com. Or they can call 803-280-5349.
So Journeys of Life. Can I post a comment? I never tried this before. Hold on. You about to teach me something now, Misty. I never posted. So journeysoflifetherapy.com.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at that. Let me see if this actually works. I don't know what I'm doing, so bear with me. I did it, I think. Did I do it? Journeys of Life.
It's
Is
up
it
there. I see it.
Okay. All right. So what's your phone number?
803
Yep.
280
Okay.
5349.
5349. Misty. Let's do it. I'm learning, y'all. Listen, I never did this before. I'm proud of myself. All right, so let me show that comment. So Misty can be reached at that number, 803. Did I do it right? 280-5349. Or journeysoflifetherapy.com. I think that's phenomenal. I didn't even know that was the website, and this is so timely. That's so awesome. Because we call this the journey to healing. So there's a lot of steps in there, y'all. I just want to thank you, Misty, because and Shani said the same thing, right? And she said, thank you. Thank you to both of us, because this is conversation that needs to be had.
Yeah, it
Because
does. I appreciate
people do like this. They shake it off, and go to work the next day, and they act like this and act like that, and they go home and they cry on their sofas.
Yep.
And they close all the blinds and they cut out all the lights, because what needs to be healed is not being addressed. And so sometimes we find it hard, especially brown people. We find it hard to sit on somebody's sofa and say, I ain't got it together.
Yep.
I'm messed up. I'm messed up. Can you help me? But I came to Kirsten and said, can you help me? And I'm kind of stealing you kind of a little bit and asking you to help, because you just helped me. And you're helping my viewers, my attendees, and my faithfuls, because somebody's on here, my faithfuls. So thank you so much. I appreciate you more than I can say. Do you have any final words for everybody?
For you, I mean, I appreciate you doing this and you being so bold with your story and using your truth and your story to help so many other people. I commend you for it. I know it's a very bold thing to do. So I just commend you for it. And to all you Black and brown who are out there that just don't even want to acknowledge the mental health in your families or the traumas that are going on, it is time to stomp that stigma and to stop this generational curse on our people.
Yes, because we don't. We think we can't let anybody know. Yeah. We think we can't let anybody know. And I'm sure it's not just Black and brown. I'm sure there's other people too, right? Because there are other people on here. But we particularly know about our people, don't we?
Know about our people. Yes. So, I just encourage you guys, you don't have to reach out to me. And I tell you one thing about me, if I feel like, we're not a good match, I will refer you to somebody else who I feel like will connect with you, because you're not going to connect with every therapist. You said it yourself. You went through. So you're not going to connect. And the therapist, if they don't feel like they can really help you, they should be sending you somewhere else.
Yes, agreed.
So
you are phenomenal.
A life coach, a therapist, whatever, go get what you need to start your healing journey.
Can that be the final comment? Go get what you need. Go get what you need. So Jacob wants to say thank you to you, Misty, and to us for educating. And oh my gosh, I swear. And then Chantel, oh, thank you for joining us, being part of the podcast family. All right, so we're gonna go. You stayed an extra 25 minutes. I appreciate you in ways I can't even say. You are special to us and again to our podcast family. So we're going to sign off, everybody. Misty, you can find this and forward it to your friends. Do whatever you got to do. You are phenomenal and we appreciate you. You are beautiful. Thank you so much. And keep praying for me because I got stuff. Keep praying. All right, y'all. I love y'all so much. Good night.